Welcome to Mental Health Minute. My name is Megan Dasbach, and I am a licensed mental health counselor here at the Therapy Room. It feels like there's always some new self-help book, app, or interview where someone swears they've broken the code on how to make change easier, whether that's for a new fad diet, an exercise plan, or plans to find new ways for internal motivation. While we would all love a quick fix to these things, it usually doesn't lead to lasting change. And have you ever been in that situation? You pick up a new hobby, you get excited about eating well or getting back in the gym, just to start to lose that motivation. Maybe things are getting busy or getting stressed, or maybe those results aren't happening as quickly as you need to feel satisfied with all the change you're making. The good news is you can, in fact, rewire your brain. We have what is called neuroplasticity, in which repetition and rewards work together to allow our brains to make new connections and reinforce them into habits. So let's get into a little bit of the science. You may have heard of the Cognitive Triad before. What I really like about this approach is that it gives you the control. The belief is that our thoughts, our emotions, and our behaviors are all intertwined and they inform one another. The good news with this approach is that we can control for potential outcomes. If you're able to understand the way your thoughts and emotions and behaviors intertwine with each other, then we can prepare and choose better options instead of just allowing our default mode to come through. This approach views all behavior as need-based. So when we choose a behavior, it's to fulfill a need that we have. If we look through this lens, it gives us all kinds of control over the choices that we make. An incredible study was done with 17,000 participants that took a look at how our brain chemistry interacts with our choices and how changes to our behavior can improve that chemistry. There are some specific set points that we can't really control for. We're gifted with the genetics that we have, and there's some components of our environment that we can't really change, but we do have lots of control over our lifestyle and our life changes. These effects are felt in changes to our brain chemistry, our major brain network, which is the way our brain communicates with our bodies, and our behaviors. The study found that even small incremental changes were able to affect the feel-good hormone production and our overall health. So what can we do with this information? If we combine the cognitive behavioral side with the neuroscience, we can break things down into three main phases. Identify the underlying need for our behavior, implement slow and steady habit change, and then reinforce the changes that we've made. Let's break these down a little bit more with the help of my therapy cat, Cookie. James Clear, who is the author of Atomic Habits, proposes that in order to make meaningful change, we need to believe these changes reflect our core identity. Is this new habit something that reflects what I believe in and who I want to be? He hypothesizes that habits are so hard for us because we often approach them from the outside in. If we focus on how this behavior enhances our appearance or our performance, we neglect to connect it to a way of being and a way of living. The hardest part of this whole deal is that we have to go slow and steady. It's very frustrating on the outside, but from the neuroscience perspective, we're literally building new pathways in our brain, and that takes time. If we look at it from a behavioral perspective, we are actively unlearning something that we may have done for years, decades, or even our entire life, and then attempting to learn something new and implement it to replace that method. So let's take another example. You wouldn't go out and try and do an Ironman tomorrow, right? You have to train, you have to prep, hit multiple goals and milestones before you're ready for the big challenge. That's how we want to approach any habit change. Bit by bit, we're building an entirely new concept and way of life. The final piece is reinforcing the change that we're making. We rarely take the time to appreciate and show gratitude for the evolutions that we make because we're so focused on getting that new attainment, accomplishing a new goal. As this new habit takes hold, reflect on how much better you are at this work, how ingrained the process is in your way of being, and think through the timeline of the experience. We're taking something from an idea, planting the seed, and watching it grow. Sometimes reflecting on that gives us a little bit of a sense of accomplishment in and of itself and helps motivate us to keep reinforcing that choice. This week, we have an excerpt from James Clear's book, Atomic Habits, that outlines the concept of identity goals in more detail. We also have some worksheets that help us look at how to identify those underlying needs, map out our current choices, and help provide clarity to the changes we're trying to make. Take a look at the resources and see what connects with you. Thank you for joining us here at the Therapy Room for this week's Mental Health Minute. Be safe and be well, my friends.